President Donald Trump touted his preliminary deal to end the Iran war and suggested he will seek to end hostilities in Ukraine and Lebanon as he joined global leaders at the Group of Seven summit in France. The United States leader's arrival on Monday in Evian-les-Bains came as partners grow increasingly wary of his erratic geopolitical performance.
Hungarian members of parliament have passed a constitutional amendment limiting prime ministerial terms to 8 years. The reform effectively prevents former longtime leader Viktor Orban from a potential return to power. Parliament overwhelmingly voted in favour of the amendment on Monday, despite opposition from Orban's Fidesz party. 150 were MPs voted for the amendment, while 50 were against and 6 abstained. The European Union has officially launched the accession process for Ukraine and Moldova. The formal launch on Monday will require both countries to commit to years of political reforms. Ukraine must start the complex process while it continues to fight Russia's invasion. But Kyiv views EU membership as a security guarantee and an anchor for its efforts to join the West.
The United Kingdom is the latest country to put in place tough restrictions for young people who use social media. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says his government will ban access to those under the age of 16.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu huddled with his security cabinet in a bunker late Sunday night, ready for the potential of Iranian ballistic missiles, when the phone rang. On the line was President Donald Trump, calling with news of a memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran.
A United States federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit by Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company XI that accused rival Sam Altman's OpenAI of stealing trade secrets for chatbots. US District Judge Rita Lynn in San Francisco said on Monday that XI failed to show that OpenAI induced former XI senior engineer Xuechen Li to divulge confidential information related to its Grok chatbot, or that OpenAI engineers knew Li might have disclosed any.
A US Air Force B-52 Stratofortress has crashed shortly after taking off from the Edwards Air Force Base in California, the base said. Emergency crews immediately responded to the scene and the situation is ongoing. The base wrote on Monday in a post on X.
A Dutch court has sentenced a Syrian man to 26 years in prison for crimes against humanity committed during his time working for the regime of former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The court in The Hague handed down the sentence to Rafik A. on Monday, having found that he tortured and raped prisoners while working as an interrogator.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat and top critic of United States President Donald Trump, has said he is being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice. In a video post on X on Monday, Newsom said the investigation was politically motivated and that he was being targeted because he is considering a U.S. presidential run. Newsom said the Department of Justice and 2020's wife. Newsom said the Department of Justice was also investigating.
Spain's ghosts of recent World Cup horror shows reappeared in Atlanta as the European champions were held 0-0 by debutantes Cape Verde in their opening game. Lamine Yamal was left on the bench as the Barcelona superstar is eased back to fitness after nearly 2 months out with a hamstring injury, and even his appearance as a second-half substitute failed to break down Cape Verde's dogged defence.
Sabri Lamouchi has been sacked by Tunisia after just one game of World Cup 2026. The 54-year-old former France international was sacked the day after Tunisia's 5-1 trouncing by Sweden in their opening Group F football game in Monterrey, Mexico on Sunday night.
The 2026 World Cup has 13 different kickoff times. You can use the Al Jazeera Sport widget to find out exactly when your team is playing in your local time. Who? France versus Senegal. What? FIFA World Cup 2026. Where? New York, New Jersey Stadium, New Jersey, United States. When? Tuesday, June 16, 3 p.m. local time, 19 GMT. How to follow. Catch all live updates on Al Jazeera Sport.
European Union member states have failed to agree on proposals to sanction Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, the bloc's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas said, speaking at a media conference on Monday. Kallas said that while many EU states had proposed economic restrictions, no consensus on that was reached today.
SpaceX has captured the attention of media, investors and the public for years now. Interest propelled by the company's reusable rocket launches, the rise of its Starlink satellite network, and of course, for its founder and CEO Elon Musk. But in its 24-year history, nothing quite compared to its initial public offering. Everyone seemed interested, perhaps because of the sheer size of the IPO. The company priced its 6 million shares at $135 each to raise $75 billion, making it the largest IPO in history and turning Musk into the world's first trillionaire.
As Meta tries to catch up in the AI race and boost engagement with its AI bot, the company announced Monday that it's rolling out new AI features on Facebook that aim to change how users find information, create content, and interact with the platform. The headline update is AI Mode, a new way to search Facebook that uses Meta AI to surface answers pulled from public posts across the platform, including groups and reels. Instead of scrolling through search results, users can ask a question in plain language and get a synthesized answer based on what people are actually discussing. The United Nations Security Council, UNSC, on Monday unanimously adopted a resolution extending the mandate of the UN Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, UNAMA, until June 7, 2027. While highlighting concerns over Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis, terrorism threats, human rights situation, and regional stability, the resolution, drafted by China and adopted by all 15 UNSC members, reaffirms the UN's central role in supporting peace and stability in Afghanistan and maintaining engagement with the country's de facto authorities and other stakeholders. European champions Spain were held to a shock 0-0 draw by tiny World Cup debutants Cape Verde on Monday. Regarded as one of the strong pre-tournament favourites, Spain had been expected to cruise past Cape Verde in their Group H opener in Atlanta. A woman has died in what appears to be a tragic extreme sports accident in Brazil. 3 men have been arrested over the incident, in which instructors failed to attach a rope to her before helping her jump from a bridge in Sao Paulo state. Who? Iran versus New Zealand. What? FIFA World Cup 2026 Group G match where Los Angeles Stadium, California, US, when Monday, 6 p.m. local time. How to follow. Keep up with all updates on Al Jazeera. Sport Iran will finally take to the field for the World Cup opener on Monday after months of uncertainty surrounding their participation in the tournament and following the United States-Israeli attacks on their country that began in late February.
An overcrowded bus has crashed in northern Ethiopia, killing at least 31 people and injuring dozens more. Police have confirmed the bus veered off the road while travelling to the capital Addis Ababa early on Monday and plunged into a ravine 100 metres, 330 feet deep. It had departed from the town of Dessie in the northern Amhara region of Ethiopia, whose roads are among the most dangerous in the world. Tehran, Iran. The world let out a collective sigh of relief when the United States and Iran announced that a memorandum of understanding had been agreed to end nearly 4 months of hostilities on Sunday. But on the streets of Tehran, exhausted by years of sanctions and tensions, the ceasefire announcement has done little to instill confidence that the crisis is over. An agreement between the two sides, to be signed on Friday, looks set to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, largely controlled by Iran since the war began on February 28, something it is hoped will stabilise rattled energy markets. In return, the US will lift a naval blockade on Iran's southern ports, which has squeezed Iran's already embattled economy.
Over the past months, many countries have announced plans to restrict social media access for children and teens. Australia became the first to implement such measures at the end of last year, setting a precedent that other countries are now closely watching. The UK is the latest country to announce that it will impose a ban on social media use for children. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer the ban on June 15. The regulations and proposals being brought forth by governments around the world aim to reduce the pressures and risks that young users may face on social media, which include cyberbullying, addiction, mental health issues, and exposure to predators.
Anthropic has disabled access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 after the US government issued an export control directive citing national security authorities. The order requires Anthropic to suspend access to the two models for all foreign nationals, whether they are inside or outside the United States. The restriction also applies to foreign national employees working at Anthropic.
Samsung messages will be deactivated for users in the United States in July, meaning Galaxy users who still rely on the app will need to switch to another texting app. The change mainly pushes users toward Google Messages, but Samsung has warned that text messages, RCS conversations, and message history will not move automatically.
The Punjab Revenue Authority, Pehel, has sealed multiple branches of popular cafe chain Double Shot across Lahore over alleged misreporting of sales data and violations of electronic invoicing rules, according to an official order seen by pro-Pakistani in a sealing order under Section 59A of the Punjab Sales Tax on Services Act 2012. The authority stated that the business registered under PNTN H053642 was found to have allegedly bypassed the mandatory electronic invoice monitoring system and underdeclared its taxable sales.
Karachi. Two bureaucrats have been booked over an advance payment of $8.5 billion to contractors of the Yellow Line BRT project. In an alleged case of misuse of authority, it emerged on Monday. The Yellow Line is planned to connect Quaidabad's Dawood Chowrangi with Numaish and will exclusively use electric buses to ensure it remains environmentally friendly.
The Ministry of Religious Affairs on Monday announced that the Muharram 1448 AH moon was not sighted in the country. The first of Muharram will fall on Wednesday, June 17, while Ashura will be observed on June 26. In a notification, the ministry said, in pursuance of the decision of the Central Reti Hilal Committee in its meeting held today in Lahore, the federal government in the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Interfaith Harmony, Islamabad, hereby announces that the moon of Muharram 1448H has not been sighted.
Medical charity Doctors Without Borders, MSF, admits its staff were accused of sexually abusing at least 59 Sudanese refugees who had fled the civil war in search of safety. Young girls were exploited in some cases, and often food or jobs were offered in exchange for sex.
A remote Albanian island has a new nickname, Kushner Island. Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of US President Donald Trump and founder of investment firm Affinity Partners, plans to build a 1.4 billion luxury resort there. The project has prompted large protests, with crowds chanting, "Albania is not for sale." Is this the future Albanians want, or a sellout of their land to foreign wealth? In this episode,
More than 1,000 civilians in Sudan have been killed in drone strikes in the first 5 months of 2026, according to the United Nations. The death toll is due to a sharp increase in the use of drone warfare in the country's vicious civil war, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, UNHCHR, Volker Turk said in a speech on Monday.